Hello students, welcome back to the class. I hope you all are doing well. Now before we start today's session, I want to remind you that if you haven't watched the previous video, which is the introduction to direct taxation, please go and watch that first. Okay, that video gives you the foundation of what is tax, who collects it, and how the system works in India. I have put the link in the description below. Once you understand that, today's topic will make more sense. Okay, now coming to today's topic, residential status. Now some of you may be thinking, what is this residential status and why are we learning this in taxation? So let me explain it very slowly and very clearly. This is one of the most important and most scoring chapter in your syllabus, and you must understand the logic behind it. Okay, let's take a very basic example. Let's say there are three people. Okay, let's say there are three people. Okay, one person is living in India. Okay, his name is Ramu and he is living in India whole year. Okay, and one is living Sida and she is living abroad. Okay, she is living abroad, Dubai, and visit India for just a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks, and Ramu lives in India whole year. Okay, now next is Raju, and Raju keeps traveling in and out of India. Okay, keeps traveling in and out of India. Now the question is, will all of them be taxed in the same way by the Indian government? No. Okay, that's where this chapter becomes more important. So what is residential status? Residential status simply means how many days you have stayed in India. Okay, how many days you have stayed in India. How many days you have stayed in India. Now, based on that, the income tax department decides how you will be taxed. Okay, it has nothing to do with your nationality. You might be an Indian citizen but still be a non-resident. Non-resident means you don't have to pay tax in India. So you might be an Indian citizen but still be a non-resident in the eyes of income tax law. Okay, so why does the government care about where you stay? It is simple because tax rule changes based on your residential status. And now if you are a resident and ordinary resident, your total income, even income earned outside India, might be taxed in India. But if you are a non-resident, only the income that is earned or received in India will be taxed. Okay, so basically before the government asks you how much do you earn, they first ask where do you stay. Okay, and this one question decide everything that comes next, and how your income is calculated, what exemption you can claim, and even whether you are a foreign salary is taxable in India or not. So please listen to this chapter very carefully because the rest of the chapter depends on this. If your residential status is wrong, then your tax calculation will be wrong, even if you do everything perfectly. Okay, so in this video I will explain to you what are the rules to determine your residential status, and then what is the difference between resident and non-resident, and what is this resident and ordinary resident, and what is resident not ordinary resident. Okay, using the flow chart. And let's move to the topic. Like I said in the introduction part, before calculating a person's tax, we need to know whether he is resident or non-resident in India. That's because taxation rules changed based on their status. Okay. Now you can see the flow chart. Here, residential status. That is, in Income Tax Act, a person can either be a resident or non-resident. That is, as per the Income Tax Act, a person can either be resident and non-resident. Now, if a person is resident, then both the income, that is Indian income and foreign income, both are taxable in India. What does? If a person is resident, his both income, that is Indian income and foreign income, is taxable in India. Okay, taxable in India. Now, if a person is non-resident, his Indian income is only taxable in India and foreign income is not taxable in India. Once more, the residential status, if a person, as per the Income Tax Act, a person can either be resident or non-resident, and if a person is resident, then both the income, Indian income and foreign income, that is, if a person is resident and if he earn Indian income and also if he has foreign income, both the income is taxable in India. Whereas if he is a non-resident, then only Indian income is taxable in India and not foreign income. So this is the first basic difference. Now many of the students get confused thinking residential status is based on citizenship, right? But remember one thing, residential status is not equal to citizenship. It only depends upon what? It only depends upon how many days you stayed in India. Stays in India. Okay. Residential status is not equal to citizenship. It only depends upon how many days you stayed in India. Now let's study how we decide whether a person is resident or non-resident. The law that talks about this is section 6. Okay, section 6. Section 6 talks about how to decide whether a person is resident or non-resident. And this section 6 is further divided into section 6.1, section 6.2, section 6.3 and section 6.4. And but we have to only focus on section 6.1 individual. Okay. Now, so once more, section 6 says about what? Section says about how to decide whether a person is resident or non-resident, and section 6.1 talks about individual. Okay. Now, section 6.1 talks about individual, how to determine the residential status of an individual. Now as per section 6.1, an individual is considered a resident in India if he satisfies at least one of the following two conditions. That is, section 6.1 says about the basic condition, and there are two basic conditions. Okay, one is this and another one is this. Okay, and if an individual satisfy any one, okay, any one, if an individual is resident, if he satisfies any one of the basic condition, okay, either this or this, if he satisfies any one basic condition, he is treated as resident. Okay, so let's check what is the condition. So the first condition, the first basic condition is stays in India for 182 days or more in the previous year. Okay, stay in India for 182 days or more in the previous year. Okay, now students, I want you to understand not just the rules but also the reason behind these rules. And why did the lawmakers put this two condition under section 6.1? The reason behind is condition 1. Condition 1 is simple. If a person stays in India for 182 days or more in a year, okay, or more in a year, he is clearly staying here most of the time. Okay, so it makes sense to call him a resident, right? Okay, so but now think about this. What if someone tries to be clever? That is, let's say there is a person who doesn't want to be taxed on his global income in India. So what he do is he stay in India for 181 days, just one day less than 182, then leaves in India and come back again next year for another 181 days, and he keep repeating this trick every year. He is living in India almost 6 months every year, using the country's road, electricity, bank, even earning Indian income. But just by keeping his stay below 182 days, he is avoiding the tax. Once more, I will explain. That is, here Ramu. Okay, here Ramu. Ramu stays in India for 182 days in the previous year. So he must be taxable in India. Okay. Now coming to Geeta. Okay. Now coming to Geeta. Geeta tries to be clever. Okay. She stays in India. She stays in India in 2021-22. She stays in India for 181 days. Okay. The condition is 182 days. Just one day less than 182. Then leaves India and come back next year. That is 2022-23. And again next year for another 181 days. And she keep repeating this trick every year. Okay. He is living in India almost 6 months every year, using the country's road, electricity, bank, and even earning Indian income. But just by keeping her stay below 182 days, she's avoiding what? Tax. Isn't that unfair? Okay, this is exactly why the government added the second condition. It's meant to catch those who try to escape the tax by this kind of entry exit technique. Okay, so what condition 2 says? Condition 2 says if you stayed in India even 60 days in the current year. Okay, 60 days in the current year and 365 days across the last 4 years. Okay, 365 days across the last 4 years. Then yes, you will be treated as resident. That is, according to Geeta, she stayed in 2020-23 60 days, and they will also check the preceding 4 years. Okay, preceding 4 years, total 365 days preceding the 4 years. If it is yes, then she will be treated as resident. Okay, there is two condition. One condition is stay in India for 182 days or more in the previous year, or 60 days or more in the previous year, and 365 days or more in the preceding previous year. Okay, this two condition is together. Okay, now because you have been regularly present in India, you had a connection with the country for a continuous period. Okay, even if you stayed only 60 days this year, your past pattern shows that you are not just a visitor. You have a presence, and that's why the second condition was added as a safety net. Okay, to prevent misuse. And that's why I always say taxation is not just about memorizing numbers, it's about understanding why these numbers are used. Okay. So here is a smart way to remember. If a person is clearly staying in India most of the time, use the condition 1. Okay, 182 days or more. But if a person is trying to escape by cutting just a few days or few days, use the condition 2, that is 60 plus 365 days preceding the previous 4 years. Okay. If anyone is satisfied, the person is resident, and if both are not satisfied, he is treated as non-resident. Okay. If one of the condition is satisfied, either this or this, he or she is resident, and if both the conditions are not satisfied, he or she is non-resident. Now, some important notes, that is, the date of coming to India and the date of leaving India are both included while counting days. Okay, that is, coming to India, and while calculating the days, we have to include what? Date of coming to India. Okay, and also date of leaving India. And the person doesn't have to stay in one city. Even if he stay in multiple places, it is counted as long as he is physically present in India. Okay, stay at one place is not mandatory. Now let's do one question, and other question you can do it by yourself. Okay, in this question, Priyanka gives the following information about her visit in India. Determine her residential status during the previous year 2024-25. Okay, this is our previous year. Okay, previous year income will be taxed in the current year. You know that. I think you have already watched the introduction video. Okay, now let's say there is a person named Priyanka. She has given us the details about the dates and when she come to India and left during the previous year 2024-25, which means the financial year is starting from 1st April 2024 to 31st March 2025. Now the question is, determine the Priyanka's residential status for the year previous year 2024-25. Let's look at the data. She comes to India on 14th February 2024 and leaves India for 16/7/2024. Now she comes to India on 14th February 2024 and leaves India for 16/7/24. Now our previous year is 1st April 2024 to 31st March 2025. Okay, so she came in 2. That is, our financial year starts when 1st April 2024 to when she leaves India 16/7/2024. Okay, so how many days she is in India? That is, what happens here is that the first visit, okay, that is 14th February 2024, she came to India on 14th February 2024, but we will only count the days from 1st April 2024 because our financial year starts from 1st April 2024 to 31st March 2024. This is, for the exam point of view, our previous year is 1st April 2024 to 31st March 2025. Okay, so here we will only count days from 1st April to 16/7/2024. Okay, now the first is 14th February 2024, but we have to calculate from where? 1st April 2024 to 16/7/2024. That means April 30 days, April May 31 days, June 30 days, and also July 16 days. To total in 107 days. Okay. Now coming to next 13/12/2024 to 26/1/2025. Okay. And here there is 13 days. 13 days is over. Now remaining. Out of, in December, 31 days is there. Out of that, she came to India on 13th. That means she is in India for 19 days plus she leaves in India on 26th January. So total she stayed 45 days. And next is 18 to 25. Okay. Now she stayed in February 11 days and also till March. Okay, she leaves on March. So March 17. So total 28. Now she came on 30th March. That is at the end of the financial year. That is, our financial year end is 31st March 2025. So 30th. And she leaves on 17/7/2025, which is after the financial year. Okay, so only 2 days, that is 30th and 31. There is only 2 days she is staying in India, 30th and 31. So total 2 days. So how many days? 182 days. So since the Priyanka satisfy the first basic condition, she is resident in India. Okay. Now total she have stayed 107, 45, 28 and 2. Total 120, 182 days. So first condition is satisfied. So she is resident in India. Now coming to additional condition. Up to this point we have learned how to decide whether a person is resident or non-resident using the basic condition under section 6.1. Okay. But wait, what if a person is resident? The story isn't over yet. Once the person is classified as a resident, we have to go one step further. We need to check whether the person is resident and ordinary resident or resident not ordinary resident. That is, we know that a person is classified as resident and or not non-resident, and if he is non-resident then no further step, but if he is resident we need to check additional condition, and if both the additional condition is satisfied then he is resident ordinary resident, and if only one additional condition is satisfied, he is resident not ordinary residents. Once more, that is, a person is classified into resident and non-resident, and if he is non-resident, no further calculation, but if he is resident, we have to check the additional condition. If both the additional conditions are satisfied, then he is resident ordinary resident, and if only satisfy one additional condition, he is resident not ordinary resident. Okay. Now for that additional condition section is section 6.6. Okay. Basic condition section 6.1 and additional condition section 6.6. Okay. Now you will apply these two basic conditions only after someone become resident, not before that. Okay. So the order is apply the basic condition. If not satisfied, then non-resident, and if satisfied, come to the additional condition. Okay. So the first condition is the person has been a resident of India, resident for a period of 2 or more previous year in 10 preceding previous year. That is, a person has been resident in India in at least 2 out of 10 years immediately before the previous year. Okay. He must be a resident Before, he must be resident at least 2 out of 10 previous year. And the second condition is the person stays in India for 730 days or more in 7 preceding years. That is, let's do one question, you will be able to understand. That is, there are two conditions. One condition is he must be resident at least 2 out of 10 preceding previous year, and also he must stay in India for 730 days out of 7 preceding previous year. Okay, now let's do a question. Okay, look, here B is an Australian cricket player, visit India for 100 days in every financial year. This has been his practice for past 10 financial years. So here B is a non-Indian, that means an Australian citizen who visit India regularly for cricket practice. So he visit for exactly 100 years every year. This has been his routine for past 10 years. Now we are asked what is his residential status for the assessment year 2025 means previous year 2024-25. Okay, so we have to pay tax in the assessment year 2025-26. Which income we have to tax? Income which is earned in 2024-25. Okay, we have to tax which income is earned in 2024-25 will be taxed in the year 2025-26. So what is his residential status for the assessment year 2025-26 and previous year 2024-25? So let's apply basic condition. What is the basic condition? He must be in India for 182 days. So our previous year is what? Our previous year is 2024-25. In that year, he is in India for 100 days. That means he is not satisfying the first basic condition, that is 182 days. But he is satisfying the second basic condition, that is 60 days or more. Right? So, and also he is in India for preceding 4 previous year, for 365 days out of 4 years preceding previous year. That is the second basic condition, that is 60 days or 365 days out of 4 years preceding previous year. That means he have satisfied one of the basic conditions, so he is resident. And when he is resident, the next step is additional condition. What is additional condition? There is 2 additional condition, that is he stays in India for 2 years out of 10 years preceding the previous year, and also he must be in India for 730 days out of 7 years preceding the previous year. So let's check. Now our year is 2024-25. He is in India for 100 days and he satisfies the second basic condition. Now the next is out of 10 years preceding the previous year. Preceding means before the previous year. Okay, immediately preceding the previous year. He must be in India for how many days? 2 years he must be resident. 2 years he must be resident means he must be satisfied any one basic condition. So here he is in India for 7 years, 700 days. That is, second one is not satisfied. That is, from year 1 to year 7, he is only in India for 700 days. But we have to stay in India for 730 days. So, second additional condition is not satisfied. Let's check the first one. The first one is what? He must be in India for 2 years out of 10 preceding previous year. He must be resident in 2 years out of 10 preceding previous year. So let's check if he is resident in any 2 years immediately preceding the previous year. The first year he is not in India for 182 days. But the second condition is what? 60 days, right? So he is in 60 days and immediately preceding the 4 years, that is 400. That is 60 days or 365. This year and also next year is also he is resident. So the first additional condition is satisfied. Okay. Now what is his status? He is resident but not ordinary resident. Not ordinary resident means what? If he satisfies any one additional condition. Okay. Next is following are the exception to the second basic condition. We have studied two basic conditions. One is 182 days or more, or other is 60 days or more, or 365 days or in the preceding 4 previous year. Okay. Now the second basic condition. What is the second basic condition? 60 days or 365 out of 4. And this is for the people who are doing unfair practices, right? But there are some exception. That is, some Indian citizen may work abroad or visit India for short duration. Government doesn't want to tax them unfairly by calling them residents just because they visit India often. So Income Tax Act gives them some relaxation. Now here is how it works. Okay, and these people only have to look the first condition, that is 182 days or more. They don't have to look at this condition. Okay, now who are the people? The case one is Indian citizen who leaves India during the previous year for what? For employment outside India. Okay, someone got job abroad and left India in September for employment. So now in this case he may come and go few times in a year. To prevent misuse, the law says we will not apply the second basic condition. Okay, in this case check only the first basic condition, that is he stays in India for 182 days or more in that. If yes, if he stay 182 days in India, yes, okay, he is resident, and if no, he is non-resident. No applicable of second basic condition. So also this rule is also applies to whom? As a crew member of Indian ship. That is, an Indian engineer gets job in Dubai and leaves in July, and we don't want to check if he stayed in India for 60 days plus 365 in 4 years, etc. We simply ask, did he stay 182 days in India this year before going? That's all. Simple. Okay. So the first category is this, for employment outside India or for the crew member of Indian ship. And the second one is Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who visits India during the previous year. That is, now this is the reverse case. Suppose someone like Virat's uncle is settled in US. He is an Indian citizen of Indian origin. He comes to India for 3 months to meet the relatives. That is, someone, that is Virat's uncle, is settled in where? Settled in US. And he is an Indian citizen. That is Indian citizen or Indian origin. And he comes to India for 3 months to meet the relatives. Now here the law again says that let's not blindly apply the second condition. But this time there is a twist. It depends upon how much income he earns from the Indian source. That is, he is visiting the India to meet their relatives, right? And it is not for employment or as a crew member of Indian ship. He is visiting to meet their relatives and he is an Indian origin. So the condition is, if his total income is less than 15 lakh, he will be treated as resident if he satisfies the first basic condition. And if his income is more than 50 lakh, he will be treated as resident of India if he satisfies any one of the following condition. That is, instead of 60 days, they have changed to 120 days. Okay, once more, if he visits India and he is Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin, if his total income is less than 15 lakh. Less than 15 lakh, no problem. Okay, the first basic condition, that is 182 days is applicable. Only 182 days is applicable. And if his income is more than 15 lakh, he will be treated as Indian citizen. Sorry, he will be treated as resident if he satisfies these two conditions. That is, he stays in India for 182 days or more during the previous year, or instead of 60 days, 120 days. Okay, that's the only change. Once more, there is exemption to second basic condition, and Indian citizen who leaves India for the employment or as a crew member of Indian ship, only first basic condition is applicable. And if the Indian citizen or person of Indian origin, if his income is less than 15 lakh, same as this category. But if his income is more than 15 lakh, the condition slightly changes. That is, the first condition is same, but the second condition from 60 days they change to 120 days. Okay, that's it. Okay, thus much. That's all for today class. And we have discussed the core logic behind the residential status. So in the next class, we will continue with the remaining part of this chapter and we will solve one or two exam level problems. Okay. Now, stay tuned, revise this part properly, and if you have not watched the previous video on the introduction to direct tax, I have put the link in the description. Watch that too for the better flow. Until the next class, happy learning.